Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror film and they discuss it. Today we're talking 2025's I Know What You Did Last Summer. That was directed by Jennifer Caton Robinson. I'm your co host, Alec, and filling in for Eric today is the one and only Joe Testa. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you, sir.
So yes, we were supposed to do Rec this week. Something came up last minute with Eric, so Joe thankfully was able to fill in for this I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel, reboot, whatever you want to call it. Joe luckily just saw it last night, right? Or was it 2 nights ago or last night?
Last night, not even
Uh,
24 hours, so it's
okay.
pretty fresh.
Okay, yeah, because we're a little late to the game here. I saw it 2 weeks ago, and I'm gonna do my best to remember as much as I can. I know what I think of it, but yeah, I mean, Joe, this is a series that I know you were on for. I still know what you did last summer. Did you do I know what you did last summer with us as well?
Yeah, I was on both.
Okay, cool. So this is perfect. So now we get to round it out, and you saw both of those in theaters, right?
I did indeed.
Okay.
We did not cover the direct-to-video third movie. I'll always know what you did last summer, but I did recently watch that, not for any particular reason, not because we were going to talk about it on the podcast or anything, but I just thought, you know what? Maybe it's time. It's now or never. There's a new movie coming out. God knows if we'll ever get another I Know What You Did Last Summer movie. I mean, if I'm ever going to watch that movie, I figured I would now. And yeah, I mean, we don't have to go into a review of that movie.
It's so bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, it's not even about like bad or good. Obviously, I didn't go into it with any kind of, expectations to love it. I just thought, what an interesting curiosity, and there is something kind of nostalgic about that because even that movie is like 20 years old now,
Yeah.
and seeing the fashion and the old cell phones and the very kind of saw editing
Mm.
in it because that's the era it comes from. It was an interesting watch. It wasn't that painful actually.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it, but I do know that it takes place in Colorado, though. So
Yeah,
it's like, how did Ben Willis's body get all the way from
yeah,
Southport all the way
right.
up
And
there?
still doing the slicker gimmick, even though it makes no sense in the landlocked Colorado. I mean, the movie's just a mess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he is like a zombie. I don't know if you know that they go like full kind of later Friday the 13th, where he's this kind of supernatural slasher at this point.
Yeah, I did see this guy online. His theory was that I guess they have the hook from the original in this new one, or in I know, always know what you did last summer. So they're thinking maybe the spirit is connected to that, and like it you
Mm.
got I don't know. That's what people say, but it's ridiculous.
Should we just review that movie?
I mean, I want to watch it at some point. I mean, because I am a completionist now. So
Right.
when we start
Yeah.
a series, I want to make sure I get them all. So unfortunately, I haven't done that one yet, but we'll get you on for that one, Joe. I'm sure.
Oh, don't threaten me with a good time.
Well, now, as is tradition in this decade and the last, and even the decade before that, remakes are, all the rage. And this isn't really a remake. This is not a remake. This is what the Scream, Halloween, all of those kind of movies are doing, where they just take, or Hellraiser, where they just take the original title and they just make a sequel to that movie. And I guess this one's a sequel to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, but it's called I Know What You Did Last Summer. So, how do you feel about those? These taking just the title and not changing anything?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it confusing when you just talk about these
Yeah.
movies. Like Scream 5 is just Scream, but we have to refer to it as Scream 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag because I was a fan of Scream 5. We
Yeah.
talked about it, and I'm
Oh yeah.
I'm a pretty big fan of the newer Halloween movies too, and
Mhm.
so it's not I don't have any one kind of way of feeling about these. It's kind of they do this with all franchises, not just horror. Like the Jurassic World movies do this, where it's kind of it's essentially a remake in broad strokes, but you bring back old actors to kind of keep it in continuity with the old ones. And in a general sense, it's kind of they're kind of a mixed bag. But I feel like with horror, I don't know. I feel like I said, Scream and Halloween, I enjoyed. There was also the Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah.
which I wasn't a big fan of, and you mentioned Hellraiser. Like, yeah, I think a lot of these lean towards a bit generic and predictable, I would say, because they are following such a strict, blueprint laid out by the old movies.
Yeah, they all just kind of feel like they're just bringing back the original actors just to get that like, ooh, they're back or whatever, or to
Mhm.
have them impose the wisdom on. And Scream is the only one that has made sense to me to do something like this with. I guess Halloween also, I didn't mind that. And this
Mhm.
one. As you said, you're like, I was never like a huge fan. This isn't like an amazing franchise that everybody like loves. So it's kind of like, why do I care that much
Mhm.
about it? But I don't know, man. This movie, I hated it. I despised this movie. And I had to like check myself because I'm like, why am I getting so mad about a franchise I don't even really care about that much?
Yeah,
But I don't know.
yeah,
And I think you had a better impression of it, right?
yeah, I think so. Um, yeah, I think, I was on those other I Know What You Did Last Summer episodes because, yeah, I do have that kind of special connection to it. Whereas, I wouldn't say I love those movies, even though I think the first one still holds up pretty well. It
Yeah.
kind of is becoming an annual watch for me and my wife,
Yeah.
and I've always liked it. But I think what I liked, I've always liked most about it is kind of remembering the time when it came out. And I remember sitting in the theater, being this huge horror fan since I was a kid, realizing, oh, Scream wasn't just a fluke. We're in the middle of like a new wave,
Yeah.
kind of like that happened in the 80s, a new wave of slasher movies.
Yeah.
And being there for that was very exciting. And
Hmm.
that's I kind of when I think I Know What You Did Last Summer, I don't just think the movie, I think that,
You're right,
you
right.
know. That being said, the series itself has always felt like kind of like a second-rate series. Like
Yeah.
it was never up there with Scream. It
No.
always felt a bit like a kind of, like cash grab probably isn't is maybe not very kind, but you know what I mean.
It's like trying to catch lightning in a bottle twice. Like, right, but like with a different series. So like, hey, because they did Scream 2 the same year as the first one, right? 97, I think.
Well, Scream 1 came out in December 96 and then
Yeah.
Scream 2 December 97.
And
Yeah.
then, but I Know What You Did Last Summer. Was that 97 or was that
It was
90?
also, yeah, it was a few months
Yeah.
before Scream 2.
So I think they were just trying to be like, all right, we already got Scream. Let's try and do it again with like a more
Hmm.
Dawson's Creeky kind of feel. And,
Yeah. I
you
mean, they
know,
got Kevin Williamson, who
yeah.
wrote Scream. He also wrote the first I Know We Did Last Summer. We didn't get into it when we talked about the movie, and I won't get too deep, in the weeds now, but I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if I Know What You Did Last Summer was heavily reworked because of the success of Scream, because I'd imagine it was
Mm.
already in some form of production if it came
Yeah.
out only 9 months or so after. Like, I wouldn't be surprised because it was also based on a book that
Yeah.
I read, the young adult novel, which was not a slasher story.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the success of Scream changed what I Know What You Did Last Summer was originally going to be. Because I remember even reading about it in Fangoria back in '97, and they were really kind of distancing themselves from Scream in that article,
Hmm.
talking about how different it was going to be.
Hmm.
So I think that's why when I saw it in theaters, I was like, whoa, no, this is a slasher movie, you
Yeah.
know?
It's not that much different from Scream. I guess
Right.
like,
Yeah.
the killer's
Yeah.
different and
I don't know if they were just, saying
yeah,
that,
yeah.
because who knows? For all they knew, Scream was just going to be, a one-time thing.
Right.
So they maybe wanted to distance themselves. They didn't know people's appetites for slasher movies yet. So who
Hmm.
knows, what they meant by that. But yeah, it was just looking back, it was a fun time.
Yeah, no, and I mean like definitely that new wave of just kind of like self-aware meta horror was all the rage in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I think Scream works from a different level though too, because it is that meta, commentary on horror, but it also like is a commentary on the horror of the times. And I think that also makes it like really interesting that, they're kind of the fourth one really plays upon the internet and like kicking up the gore to like the Saw levels and stuff like that. So they're always very aware of the time they take place in, where I don't
Mhm.
think I Know What You Did Last Summer really has that, just, because it's just the
Yeah.
first two. So this one, I don't know. It just kind of felt like they're like, all right, let's just do the same thing as the first movie, but we'll have the legacy characters that are still around and we'll like jack them into the plot somehow. And it just didn't feel as organic as Scream. I don't know.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
a Scream 5, I mean.
Yeah, it's the whole concept, the conceit of this series, I think is just a harder thing to go back to
Yeah.
and drum up a new event because they're like revenge movies, you know?
Yeah, and the Scream movies, it's like it's a continuing lore, so that's why it kind of
Hmm.
makes sense that there's a new killer. They're like, I want to be a part of this because it's this like, sensationalized urban legend that their stab movies are made about. So it's like
Hmm.
I understand why there would be different killers all over the world, basically, that are trying to get Sydney and get a part of her story.
Hmm.
This, yeah, they're like, we just have to keep creating an accident that happens and somebody has to try and get revenge. And we somehow have to make this connect to the Ben Willis people. So it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, this isn't going to work as well.
Yeah. What were your expectations going in? Did you have any?
Very low. Like, I,
Yeah.
I feel like this month it's like, all right, Happy Gilmore 2. I have to go in just, I have to assume this is going to be the worst movie ever. That's still the
Yeah.
expectations. It didn't meet those. This same thing. I was like, I know this isn't going to be good, but I mean, we're gonna spoil it, but like the killer actually upset me. When they
Mm.
do stuff like this, it makes it hurt the originals. And that's like the
Mhm.
worst thing I think a sequel can do is it's like it kind of if you're not gonna truly convince me that Ray is the killer, okay, we said Ray is the killer. If you're not gonna really convince me that like his downfall has been going on for the last 20 years, and I believe that he wants to get revenge on somebody for some reason,
Mhm.
then okay. But I feel like this did not do it. So then it like retroactively hurts the relationships of the characters from the first two movies if you're not gonna justify that bridge.
Yeah.
And I don't think this movie did. So in my mind, this is a bad sequel because it hurts the originals.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yeah, that's fair. I probably won't push back on too much of what you're saying, even though I think I definitely enjoyed the movie more than you. But like you, yeah, I would say my expectations were, not terribly high for this movie. And like I said, I don't hold this series in very high regard,
Yeah.
you know. So I think I was I was okay with it being just kind of a silly good time. I definitely know what I definitely understand what you're saying. Um, and I think I just kind of forgave it for some of that silliness and I think I just part of me kind of admired some big swings that I thought it took.
There's nothing
And
else I can think compare it to. I mean, with doing something like that with a legacy character, I can't think of any other movie that's done that.
yeah, I mean,
So, yeah.
like obviously Scream has never done that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's good.
Hmm.
But I do think like when you're making and I Know What You Did Last Summer, you know, you're always going to be compared to Scream. And,
Hmm.
what hasn't Scream done? Well,
Hmm.
there's never been a character from a previous movie that is the killer in the new movie,
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah.
Um, and as far as it being Ray, I would never argue it's well done. Um, but I'll say that Ray and Julie were never high up on my list of favorite final couples in
Yeah.
horror.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I think it could have been done much better. But if this movie doesn't have that, I don't know what it has. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what it has that would like grab my attention. It just, the fact that it's Ray, it's like at least. it brings Julie into the climax and they have something to play. It's
Yeah.
personal. It's something. Like if this movie just ends with the unmasking and it's the cop or it's the
Yeah.
priest, I don't know. I don't know
I
what we have here.
Well, that's the thing. I'm okay with it being Ray, but I
Yeah.
needed there to.
Yeah.
First, and correct me if I'm wrong. Do we ever find out why Jennifer Love Hewitt and him got divorced? Or we just know they got
Uh
divorced?
yeah, I don't think they dive too deep into it.
Okay, so here I thought of it. I was like, all right,
Mhm.
what if Jennifer Love Hewitt became like a writer after these incidents and was like going on talk shows and making money and all this stuff? And Ray and her were married, and Ray was like going crazy. He's like, you're exploiting these situations to make money, and it drove me crazy over all these years or whatever. And that's kind of what drove a wedge in their marriage. And then him seeing like the exploitation of murder, like, getting ramped up with the internet and all this stuff. I think that would have at least maybe be like, okay, I see why his character is becoming this guy. But
Mhm.
for all they give us, as far as I remember, it's like he owns a bar now. He has a friend who I think died or whatever, and now his daughter has become like his surrogate daughter. And there's this new development that's gonna, get rid of his bar or something like that. And he's mad because he thinks that his story has been scrubbed from the internet. So he's going to like reenact the horrible thing that happened to him. Is that kind of
Yeah.
right?
That sounds right. Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, there are a lot of details from this movie that even less than 24 hours have just slowly kind of left my brain already. But what you're saying is interesting, and it deviates from the usual Requel plot, which it sounds like what you're saying is like make Ray and Julie the main characters, which is with most of these movies, it's a completely fresh cast that
Hmm.
is essentially, just a younger version of what we got before,
Yeah.
and the legacy characters are just essentially glorified cameos.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we got with you know, Scream, Star Wars, you name it. That's
Yeah.
that's the formula. What you're describing, I definitely think sounds a lot more interesting. I know nothing about any kind of making of this movie, the behind the scenes, the development. I wouldn't be surprised if this movie is the result of 24 different scripts
Yeah.
that got smashed together because there are serious like tonal issues with this movie.
Dude.
I mean, it
Yeah.
swings from like I did kind of lean over to my wife at one point and say, "This almost feels like Scary Movie."
Dude,
Like,
the ending, especially.
are
Yeah.
you talking about the ending or the mid-credit scene?
No, the actual ending when they get out of the
Okay.
hospital, they're like, I'm hungry as hell. It's like, yeah, let's go
Oh,
get some
oh,
food. They're
that
like,
ending. It
like Samantha's still alive? It's like, no way, girl. I was like, your friends are all dead. Like
Yeah.
you just committed murder. You just got out of the hospital. You think there'd be like a little bit of like, oh my God, like I'm fucked forever. Like just like a moment of realization.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out why that scene was even in the movie, and I guess it was to let us know that she was still alive.
Why
But
is
it's
she
like,
still alive?
why not just cut to black the moment like Madeline Klein just washes up on the beach and we know she's alive in case they want to make a sequel. Just cut to credits. Like
Yeah.
that scene was so awkward.
I hated that scene.
Yeah,
And I also think it kind of undercuts the movie to be like, this could all be resolved if men just went to therapy. And it's like,
yeah, yeah,
isn't the murderer a woman in this? I was
yeah,
like, what? Why is this being like right at the last second just kicked in? It's like, oh,
yeah.
okay. Because they don't even justify Ray's reasoning really. So I'm like,
Right.
I don't know. I just felt like that was a really like weird last minute kind of just like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just like a very, from what I remember, brief overview of the movie, and then we can kind of like continue what we're doing with like the nitpicky stuff. But
Hmm.
they're just recreating what happened in the first movie, except this time, I feel like even the car accident wasn't like 100% their fault. Like, yeah, the guy
Yeah.
shouldn't have been screwing around in the street, but like in the
Right.
first one, they're drunk driving and hit a guy.
Mm.
Like, there's really no way around that. Like this is like, well, the other guy was also a drug addict who was driving the car, right? 'Cause-
Honestly, that whole bit, like even what's the killer's name? The female killer, Sarah? Um,
Something with an S, I think you're right. Yeah. It better not be Sydney.
no. It's
Stevie.
Stevie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like her, honestly, if you asked me to lay out what her motive was or her connection to the guy in the truck, I'm not positive I can do it. And I just saw this movie because I also like leaned over to my wife as she was doing her usual killer at the end of one of these movies thing, and we made a little joke about Rebecca Gayheart in Urban Legend. She was
Hmm.
like essentially doing that whole shtick. So
Yeah.
I I will be honest. I was a very kind of passive, it was a very passive watch for me. Um, just kind of going with the flow, enjoying the kills.
Yeah.
And yeah, like a lot of the who did what and why, I'm not positive.
Okay. Okay. So we'll move through because there's one thing that like immediately set me off. I think this is where I was like, all right, I think you've lost me movie, and it's pretty early on.
Mm,
So they recreate the kill basically on the cliffs of Southport, but this time instead of them doing it, a guy drives and misses one of them and goes off the
right.
cliff and he dies. So I
Hmm.
believe we learn later that that was Stevie's like kind of boyfriend who was like out of rehab with her, I think, because she used to be friends with all these guys, but
Yeah.
I think her life was like falling apart.
Right.
Um, I think she was in rehab with this guy who dies, I think.
Hmm.
Anyways, it's not really their fault, but it
Yeah.
kind of is. But
Yeah.
anyways, so a year later, same shit starts happening. They start getting letters like, we know what you did, blah, blah, blah. So the lead girl, she is coming back to Southport and she's like hooking up with this girl in the bathroom. And she finds out that this girl is a podcaster who's coming to Southport specifically for this story because it's like the anniversary or something like that. And she's coming back to do her podcast on it. And I think she was going to go meet with Jennifer Love Hewitt's character, I think, or Ray.
Hmm.
Um, so this is where the movie started to fall apart for me. That girl, when her and the lead are like their fight scene or whatever, and the podcast girl gets killed, okay? That's very early on in the movie. When
Hmm.
she's about to get killed, like she's
Hmm.
getting the thing in her, she goes, "Oh my God, you?"
Right.
So right there, I'm like, you just gave it away because it
Right.
has to be Ray or Jennifer Love Hewitt because you don't know anybody else in this town, and it's not the lead girl that you hooked up with in the airplane because she's trapped in the cage downstairs.
Hmm.
So I'm like, you just fucking gave it away.
Yeah, I thought that as well, but she did meet the lead girl, I think her name is Ava. She
Yeah.
did meet her boyfriend because he gave them a ride from the airport.
Oh, you're right.
So
You're
I
right.
thought, but I thought, those are the only two possibilities, right? It has to be either Freddie Prinze or the boyfriend whose name I can't recall.
Yeah, or Jennifer Love Hewitt because she's there for the story. So th those are the only two people that she would know.
Right.
And then so that part I was like, okay. But then also later, Ray's all pissed off when that scene from Jaws where the town's like freaking out, and then
Yeah.
Ray stumbles in and he's just like, they did this before, and they're trying to get rid of it on the internet or whatever. Clearly, people know about this if this girl's coming to do a podcast about it. So he's all mad that his story is getting erased, but people already know about the story. So I
Mhm.
was like, this doesn't make sense why his justification is so like I'm gonna
Yeah.
commit murder again or now for
Right.
the first
Right.
time ever. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Totally.
So
Totally.
that's where I started to lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, I'm not going to push back. I I feel like I understand fans who would take issue with it, and like you said, it kind of, you know, it affects when you look back on those other movies. It kind of it changes the perspective. Um, I feel like for me, we've had so many. Kind of bad remakes and reboots, sequels over the years. I've grown very accustomed to just being like, you know what? Those things exist and are untouched.
Yeah.
And I can easily forget whatever new things have been added to the lore.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, I think honestly, this isn't a movie I would recommend to many. Um, but yeah, I just like I kind of appreciated its kind of shamelessness, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I do think some kills were pretty fun, you
Well,
know,
that's what I was gonna ask you. Which
yeah.
ones? Because the only one I can remember is the like the guy getting shot in the beginning, the boyfriend, where it like goes
Yeah.
through his chest.
Yeah, I thought, not bad. I kind of like how his body was put on display afterwards.
Yeah,
And then kind of the same with the kind of Ryan Phillippe stand-in, the blonde Madeline Klein,
okay,
her
yeah,
her boyfriend, he gets killed with his father, and then their bodies are like put on display like sharks on the
yeah.
dock. Kind of
Okay,
fun.
okay.
Kind of fun, you know.
Joe,
You know.
that scene right there, that's another one. I was like, what just happened? So it's they're fighting the guy that's the Ryan Phillippe stand-in. He's like the
Yeah.
football jock guy or whatever.
Yeah.
He punches the killer in the face, falls on
Hmm.
the ground, and then
Hmm.
spits on him. And the next
Hmm.
shot is him like crawling out towards the front door. What
Yeah.
happened in between those shots?
I
He
mean,
had the killer on the ground.
yeah, I'd have to
Dude,
rewatch it.
I
I
lost
thought
my
maybe
shit.
he was stabbed. He like they caught an artery or something, and it's starting to catch up with him or something.
Dude,
Um,
when you watch it again,
yeah,
specifically pay attention to that scene because in the
yeah,
movies I was like, what just happened? Because like,
yeah.
yeah, he does get stabbed, he definitely does, but he's winning the fight, and then
Right.
it cuts, and then the next scene is him like, I'm dying now, and I don't
Yeah,
like. So what happened?
yeah. Fair.
Um,
And
yeah,
yeah, overall, I can't. I was thinking at certain moments in this movie that the kind of the slasher movie chase and set piece is kind of a lost art.
yeah,
I think when you look back at some of those Scream movies, I mean, that are just so well done and like
mm,
Craven, sets up the space so well where you know where you are and you know the layout of these houses and just so many great set pieces. Even something in like Scream 3, which is, considered one of the lesser of his movies, but like the chase through the studio
yeah,
onto the sets,
yeah.
just so well done. And I mean, obviously Craven is one of the masters, but I think if you look back at a lot of, old slasher movies, some of the Friday the 13th, they did a lot with very little.
Oh yeah,
And it's kind of shocking how, even some of these new Scream movies, which I like, well, I like Scream 5, the Scream 6, not so much.
yeah.
But I am surprised how you know they aren't able to blow those movies away in
Mm,
terms of things like chase scenes and just set pieces. Even rewatching the first I Know You Did Last Summer, it's like a pretty well made movie. And when you think about the climax of that movie on the boat, like this climax, the two climaxes of this movie are so anticlimactic.
yeah.
And you think about the second movie in like the hurricane and the cemetery, just
Mm,
very atmospheric. And there's a whole kind of chase scene on top of a greenhouse that's suspenseful. Like
yeah.
I wouldn't, I'd be hard pressed to give you anything from this movie that, compares to any of that.
They traded the greenhouse for a green screen because I am convinced that's a green screen of that boat scene at the end.
And I'll say early on in this movie, and this is just, I'm like a broken record, like just movies don't look like movies anymore. And
Yeah,
that's just something, when I sit down, I have to like take a deep breath and like, it's the way it is, when it opens up and this looks like a Hallmark movie and
yeah,
even, during the accident scene early on, it's like they're so obviously not on a real road. Like
yeah,
they're supposed to be on the edge of a cliff. Like there's no wind in their hair,
yeah,
nothing. And those are the kinds of things that like just immediately pull you out. And you think about all the things that you took for granted in movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is also a low budget horror movie for the time, but
yeah.
felt so much more real because there was no other option. You
Dude,
had to do
scary
it,
movie. The scary
Yeah.
movie replica scene looks more real than this. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
And back to your point about the chase scenes. Yeah, especially today with like the technology they have,
Yeah.
where it makes it look like there's no cuts and stuff like that. I'm like, you guys could
Hmm.
do like a seamless 5 minute crazy chase throughout a
Yeah.
house or whatever. And
Hmm.
yeah, they don't do anything. I thought it was pretty tame. I mean, these movies
Yeah.
always are relatively. I never really thought these are like the goriest, or
Right.
most intricate kills, but
Hmm.
yeah, there is not much here to write home about. I was disappointed, especially with that Jock character getting killed, and then
Hmm.
there was the one scene where the boy, the nice like boyfriend kind of pseudo boyfriend character, where he goes out to the car to like get a phone charge or something like that, and he sits down and he just says, "What are you doing?" I thought right there, I was like, wait, is there going to be a killer in the back seat? And he's going
Right.
to be like, what are you doing? Like, you're supposed to be doing something. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh shit, this actually might get back on track. This could be
Yeah.
interesting. And then nothing.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like,
He was talking to himself like in the
yeah.
mirror.
He's like, you
Yeah,
got to choke her. She says she likes being choked. You got to choke her. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God. Oh my
I thought
God.
the same thing. I thought the
Dude.
same thing.
I was like,
Yeah.
this had a moment where they really could have done something cool, but nope.
Yeah.
So the boyfriend character who like she doesn't even seem like she likes that much, he gets killed. Everybody's killed. I love the scene too, closer to the beginning where Stevie and her friend are like, loading up the trucks or whatever, and then like all the other friends are about to go for a ride, and they're just like, "That's Stevie. We used to be friends." And then Stevie's over with her friends, like, "Those are my friends. We're not friends anymore." It's just like, and they're
Mhm.
like having this
Yeah.
like complete exposition dump
Oh,
between the two of
dump.
them,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yep.
just like, this is so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so slowly we learn that Stevie's life, she used to be part of this like popular crew, life fell apart. She's been working for Ray, and Ray looks at her like a daughter, and he would do anything for her, including kill her friends who accidentally a guy died because they were screwing around, which Stevie was a part of. And you know,
Mhm.
so I mean, that's kind of like the major plots. I mean, Jennifer Love Hewitt, she's a teacher, I think. They're like
Yeah.
45 minutes away from Southport,
Mhm.
and they go to get her because they're like, you got to help us. And she's basically is just like, I don't know, you got to fight him. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Which you'd also think she'd probably be like farther from Southport than 45 minutes if like this ruined her life and her marriage, but
Mhm.
she's cool. Yeah. So I'm trying to think what else. The other scene that I texted you about that really pissed me off too was
Mhm.
there's a scene where Stevie and Ray are like standing outside by a car. I think it's right outside of Ray's bar. And he's just like, take care of yourself. She's like, I will, or whatever. It's just like, I care about you. It's like, okay. And this
Yeah.
scene is just Stevie and Ray. There's
Right.
nobody else there.
The two
The
killers.
two killers. So it's
Hmm.
later revealed these are the two killers.
Hmm.
I know you can't spoil it, but then
Right.
don't even have the scene.
Right.
Because
Right.
in retrospect, you're like, they would definitely be like, good job, or like,
Yeah.
take care of them, like something, you know?
And tell you the truth, I don't think without that scene, I might not have even remembered that there was a connection between those two.
Me too. Yeah.
So I that might have been why they put it in. Um,
That's how like weak the
oh
connection
yeah.
is and the motivation. Because
Right.
yeah, this like doesn't make sense. Like, why would I just kill a bunch of teenagers who are going through what I'm going through or went through that like ruined my life? I'm gonna do it because they were mean to my not even stepdaughter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I love the scene too. If Ray is kind of like doing all this revenge stuff, was he gonna kill Jennifer Love Hewitt too? Right?
I would imagine maybe.
He went to her house. He just shows
Yeah.
up at her house by himself one time. He's just like, just
Yeah.
checking in on you. She's like, don't
Right.
start that bullshit. If he was the killer, just kill her right then and there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know, dude. I lost my
Yeah.
mind during this movie.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. I think yeah. I I don't know why I gave this movie such a pass or why it is so kind of inoffensive to me. Um, but because like we saw Hard Eyes a few months back and I was, fuming over that movie.
Yeah.
And why, I felt that way for that movie, and I'm much more forgiving of this movie. It might have caught me on the right day. It might be, just kind of nostalgia. Um, So yeah, I'm not really sure why I'm not coming down quite as hard on the very obvious flaws that this movie has. Um,
Well, that's okay. I mean,
yeah.
I'm being overly critical of something that I should have known was going to be bad.
Yeah, I think your complaints are fair and valid.
All right, well, I got one more for you.
Okay.
The Sarah Michelle Gellar scene.
Oh yeah.
I don't hate it, but
Again, I thought it was fun.
why,
I thought it was in the spirit of this silly ass movie. Like, yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah,
do it. Like that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Like that's what I was feeling like at this point. Yes. Yep. If it was Scream, I'd be like, "Oh my God." You know, I would
yeah.
be furious. Like
Right,
if it
right.
was Scream, if it was revealed in Scream that Dewey's the killer, it's like kill me. No.
Yeah,
But for
yeah.
this series, do it.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. I didn't.
That's kind of was my feeling throughout. You know, that's as best as I could explain it, you
Yeah,
know.
it didn't. I was already at this point. I think I was
Yeah.
like completely checked out. But
Yeah.
she looks great though. Like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
looks like almost
Yeah.
exactly the same as I
Yeah.
remember her in that movie.
Yeah, and it didn't surprise me because I feel like there is regret that they killed her off in that
Oh yeah,
first movie,
big
you
time.
know, and I think they did want to bring her back as a live character, and she was like, "No, I'm dead," you
Yeah,
know.
that would
I did hear her
be.
say something about that. Um, so it didn't surprise me when she showed up in a dream,
Yeah.
even though this series I don't think has ever given us nightmares. But again, like yeah, I just thought it was just kind of I almost watched this movie like it was, you know, an SNL skit, you know? It's
That would
like
help. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, and yeah, why I'm forgiving of this when I'm so grumpy about other movies that I've seen. Like I'm just kind of done with movies where when it's over, I'm like, oh, that was okay. That was pretty good. You know,
Right.
I would almost rather just be like, holy shit, that was a train wreck. And maybe that's why I am more forgiving of this.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like you brought up Hulu's Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Like, I was so like looking forward to that movie because of the podcast. Remember, we covered Candyman, and then I went down a whole Clive Barker
Yeah.
rabbit hole around. I
Yeah.
was so you know, psyched for that movie. And then it was just like so
Yeah.
just yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
oh, it was okay.
Right.
And then I, you know, I would never recommend like the direct-to-video Hellraiser movies, but they are so what were they thinking? Like, what the fuck are these movies?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I will rewatch Hellraiser 5, Inferno, or Hellworld before I watch that Hulu movie. You know, so it's interesting. Like, so maybe that's it. Maybe this movie jumps the shark so much that I'm just like, oh, okay, that was just silly and what the fuck and
You know what this reminds me of the most I can compare it to is the Prom Night remake. Did you ever see
oh God,
that?
yeah, it was terrible.
This reminds me of that, where it's like it's so bland and so many things don't make sense that I kind of just don't care by the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think this has a little more bite than that. Like, I
Okay,
mean,
all right, all right,
that was
that's
a
fair.
PG-13.
That's fair.
Like, yeah, but fair. No, that's I get it. I get it.
Well,
I've
let's
been in your shoes.
well, yeah, yeah.
You know, like if we did Hard Eyes, you know, I think my issue with Hard Eyes, if I had to just make it as simple as possible, it was a comedy that wasn't funny, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh, that was
and
way funnier, yeah.
to me there's nothing more painful than sitting through like a broad comedy
Yeah.
that is just not funny to me. You know,
Yeah.
obviously comedy's subjective. Um,
I hated that movie too.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I like totally forgot about
Yeah.
it until this movie. I was like, what's the
I
worst movie I've
also
seen this year?
I also saw Clown in a Cornfield,
Oh yeah, how was that?
which it was okay. You know, it was such a, you know, it's very obviously a very low budget movie.
Mhm.
Very low budget. And you could kind of it's kind the kind of movie it's not great, but you're almost rooting for it because it was obviously, you know, made very, you know, economically.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's it's worth a watch if you like horror movies. Um,
Yeah, my girlfriend wanted to check it out, so I've
yeah.
been seeing it advertised, but yeah, this is definitely towards the bottom of my list so far this year. You know, we're already into August basically, and yeah, 28
Yeah.
years later, I loved it, and then I saw this back to back, and I was like, okay, so I'm glad that I saw like a horrible movie and then an amazing movie. So it's been an okay week for horror.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've probably seen more old movies in theaters than new movies this year.
Mm,
We saw Friday the 13th double feature together.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and I've been kind of grumpy about most new movies I've seen this year.
yeah,
Sinners was
yeah.
actually probably my favorite of
Yep.
this year so far.
Yeah, Sinners was good. So there's been a
Mhm.
few. I have ho high hopes for Weapons. Um, but before we kind of wrap up here, we definitely got to talk about this ending because the ending is just it's horrible. Um, so they go out on a boat. I don't know, do they kidnap the girl or what's going on? Because it's the two lead girls and they're on the boat. Ava and that popular blonde girl,
Yeah.
Madeline Klein. Yeah. And
Yep.
they're on the boat and there's the killer and the killer is Stevie and she's just like I can't even remember why she
Right.
said she's doing it, but she's like, you
Yeah.
guys were mean to me basically, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
she's doing her usual spiel that they do in these movies.
okay, so she's there and they have a gun and they shoot her in the head, I think.
Well,
Uh
Freddie Prinze, he
oh
comes up on a
yeah.
speedboat
Right.
and she seemingly kills Madeline Klein. She like
Right.
guts her with a hook and throws her overboard.
Right.
But in typical fashion, I feel like what used to kill people in these movies no longer does.
Yeah.
Um, so and then I don't remember the back and forth she has with Ray.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious now because this is before we know Ray is also the killer.
Yeah.
They have some kind of back and forth, and then Ray shoots her, and she falls
Yeah.
overboard too.
So he
And we find out
shoots.
she's alive as well.
Right. So you're like, okay, so I'm gonna shoot you wherever. I think he shot her in the head, but where it wasn't in the head. She falls in
Yeah.
front of the boat. Let's hope she
Mhm.
doesn't get hit and then immediately cut up in the thing. But you know, it all
Yeah.
works out. She
Yeah.
survives. Madeline Klein survives. Ray, who is trying to kill Ava, who has her on the boat, and he could easily do it right now, but he's like,
Mhm.
no, I'm gonna take you back to my bar, and then we'll hang out for a while. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
call Jennifer Love Hewitt, who I also could have killed earlier when I was alone with her at her house. But yeah, let's create more evidence at my bar than I
Yeah.
could have just thrown you over the fucking boat. But you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Terrible. Terrible.
so then he reveals I'm the killer, and it's because they were gonna erase my history and blah blah blah. And then Jennifer Love Hewitt does the most cringe-worthy, like, just do it
Oh
already.
my God. Yeah.
Just do
Yeah.
it.
She does the famous line from the first movie,
Yeah,
only she kind of whispers it.
it
Yeah.
was.
What are you waiting for?
What are you waiting
What
for?
are you
Right.
waiting for?
Just
Yeah.
as bad as in that new Alien Romulus movie when it's just like, get away from here,
Oh, nah,
bitch.
that was worse. That was worse.
That
You
was so bad.
talk about me being oh, that was a movie. It's funny, like your energy on this episode would have been me if we talked about Alien Romulus.
Okay, we should do that because we haven't done we got to work through that series still. But that
Yeah.
yeah, so that reminded me of this where I was just
But to
like,
me,
ugh.
like Alien, you know, that series, even though, you know, it not to get into the Alien franchise, but
Mm,
I think I just hold that series in very high esteem, you
yeah,
know, in general, and to just kind of see, I just feel like whether it's Alien, Planet of the Apes, Deadpool. I feel like everything like that Disney has gotten their claws in, all of a sudden, what was once kind of interesting and subversive and weird and cool is just so completely bland now to me. But that's a whole nother conversation. I apologize.
nah, dude, I totally agree. And the only thing that made it semi-tolerable in this is because, well, at least this character has said it before, and at least Ray
Yeah,
was there for it, so at least he
yeah,
might get it. Like the Alien one, it's like that's a
yeah.
completely different character who's never even met Ripley.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
so,
And to me, Alien Romulus it's a perfect example of just kind of being like, that was pretty good. And it's like
yeah.
I, I'd rather like it's something like Alien Resurrection, which is just that was so weird and like what were they thinking?
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
something like Alien Romulus, which I'm sure was focus grouped within an inch of its life.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Mhm.
All right. So Ray gets killed and the two leads survive, and then we get the most insane like mid-credit scene.
Oh my God.
Like,
Okay, yeah. Yeah, completely yeah, the ending on the boat and at the bar just completely anticlimactic. I appreciated there was a little something, a little final confrontation between Julie and Ray. It doesn't add up to much. He gets killed. Um so I didn't even know there was a mid-credit scene. Jenna had found out from,
mhm.
I don't know, someone online. So we wait, and I joke to her like, what if Brandy is in it? And we have a little laugh. And then fucking Brandy.
Yeah.
Oh man. See, I
Ah,
think we just kind of had a good time like
yeah.
with this movie. Like that's all I could say. We just kind of had a good time. We had a good laugh at some of these scenes. Um and yeah, that's all I can say. I'm not
Yeah.
proud.
Now, by that point in the movie, I was like, I just you could do anything at this point.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
And I'm just kind of like I'm glad I'm kind of just laughing, and just like, when Brandy's like, "Girl, uh, what did she say?" She's
So
like,
like
"You got the
everybody's trying to
worst."
kill this girl.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to kill her. And it's
She
like,
said, "You can't catch a break." I'm like, we
yeah.
were dying.
Yeah, it's so
Um,
ridiculous.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's
and then it's not just Brandy, like Jennifer Love shows up
yeah.
like she's Nick Fury,
Yeah.
like putting the Avengers together. I'm like, this is batshit. This is batshit. And I'm
Dude,
kind of and I'm kind of loving it.
I
And
mean, she
it's like,
shows up with like a picture of Brandy and her, and Brandy's face is crossed out, and it says like "I still know," and it's
yeah.
just like, okay, wait. So what do you think, Joe? Who do you think
Oh,
she's
God.
talking about? What is it gonna
Nobody knows.
be?
The people who wrote it don't know.
No, they
Like they're
don't. They
like, let
don't.
someone else figure that out
They
when the time comes, which will probably never come because I don't think this movie has made very much money, right? It'll
Ah.
never, yeah. Let whoever figure that out, which, will never happen,
Who is it gonna
mercifully.
be?
But
Oh
yeah.
God. Yeah, so that's I know what you did last summer, 2025. Probably, if not my least favorite, Hard Eyes in this are at the bottom for me. But there's still half a year left, so there's plenty of stuff to come out.
Are you
Uh,
talking just horror movies?
yeah, yeah. I haven't really seen much else this year.
Yeah, I keep track of it on a note on my phone.
Oh,
I saw,
nice.
did we see the monkey? I saw the monkey. You
I
saw
saw
the
the
monkey,
monkey.
right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was okay. I think I liked it better than this for sure, but it was
Yeah.
okay. It was all right.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
higher hopes for that, I think, just
Right.
because I liked it was the Longlegs director, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I just had higher hopes, but yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
dude, I loved Barbarian, and Zach
Hmm.
Cregger's is doing Weapons, so I'm
Right.
like, let's go. I'm here for that. So hopefully it
Hmm.
doesn't disappoint.
Hmm.
28 years later, 2 is coming out in January, so that's sick, I think. I think January or maybe I don't know, early next year. But yeah, so Joe, you got any last minute thoughts on I Know What You Did Last Summer?
No, not really. This it was a fun chat. It was a strange watch, this movie. And it's funny, it might have just caught me on the right day because everything you said, I think is right on. But yeah, for whatever reason, I give this one kind of a pass.
They did was it the original one opened up with a Don't Kill the Reaper cover? Is it that movie, right?
No, it was Summer Breeze,
Oh, but it was a
and
remake, right?
yeah,
They
typo
sh
negative
they should have
covered it.
done that for this, but
Yeah,
have it be
yeah, yeah.
like,
I still have my I Know What You Did Last Summer '97 soundtrack, and it's got some fun, covers and some good songs on it. Yeah, needless to say, I don't know what was going on with this soundtrack.
I can't tell you one song in it,
No.
but well, we will be covering Rec next week. So if you're a Rec fan, get ready. We're sorry this week we screwed you over, but Joe, thank you so much for stepping in and helping out and talking me through this movie, man. It was a therapeutic experience.
I'm always here for you.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you very much for listening into our discussion on I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025, and we'll see you next week with Rec. Woo!